Mic'd up.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Highlights from Lowlifes. I'm your host, Jeff, and with me are my friends Robbie, Terry, and Marty. Hope everybody's doing good. We have a scary version for you today. Even though yesterday was Halloween, we decided to go scary and do scariest moments in sports. As you know, we've been here a while that we all met playing baseball and we had fun doing it. And we got on these lives these Zooms when COVID hit, and we liked it so much, we found somebody to put us on live on the air. So, with that,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
Yeah, their mistake.
we keep doing it.
Don't ask us why. Hey, who would do that? But
So,
here we are.
with that, we'll jump right into our topic. Top 5 scariest moment in sports. And we'll throw it to Terry to start us off.
Hey, guys. Hi, everybody. Well, my number 5 is the Joe Theismann sack broken leg. And that was bad enough as it is, except then they played it over and over and over again, which created it created a new replay rule, not to play those over and over and over again. They're too gory for the average person, and when they say you might want to look away, well, you couldn't help it. They showed it so many times you couldn't miss it. That's my number 5, Joe Theismann. Marty.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you're having a great post-Halloween. This was kind of a morbid subject, and to really get into the depth, Terry just started it, a broken leg right there in the middle of your screen. So I tried to, maybe number 5 is kind of lighten it up a little bit and make it a little more personable to our general audience. And because I'm gonna the number 5 scariest thing happened to me. And it happened in our league. Most of the guys I joined in 2006, 2007, and the big scary guy back there was a guy called Chili. You didn't even know his name. He was just Chili. Okay. Well, it's Dave Chacon, and unfortunately, Dave is not with us anymore, which is a real tragedy in and of itself. But he was the fireballer of the league, and everybody told me to look out. And I should have paid more attention, because if you're on a left-handed batter, and so the first time up, first pitch, right down the strike zone. The second one earned right at me, and I froze. Bam! I took it right off the helmet. And that guy hit me more often than a voodoo guy pins a voodoo doll. I mean, this guy just got plugged me. It was scary though. No, it was a great guy. Introduction to a great league with the friends that I have here, and of course everybody else that might be listening in. But just to bring it home and lighten it up a little bit, number 5 was Chili on the mound. That's my scariest.
Yeah, watch out for the twisty windup.
Yeah, right.
the no looky windup. Yeah, we're shaking in our boots.
Rob, go ahead.
All right. Well, my number 5 was one I actually witnessed in person years ago. I think it's 1977. At the Calistoga racetrack, which was owned by the Vermeil family. Yes, Dick Vermeil's family. We were up there for the races. They used to do sprint car races up at the track up there, and it was a pretty big time sprint car track. Pancho Carter raced there regularly, who went on to do IndyCar stuff. AJ Foyt, the Allison brothers came through there on some barnstorming tours and stuff, and it was a pretty big circuit. One of the stars of the conference, I guess, if you want to call it, I think it was the Northern Auto Racing Club, raced there regularly, and they raced in Sacramento and Chico and all those places. But Johnny Anderson was one of the big stars, and he was racing one night, and I think it was over the Labor Day, the big Labor Day weekend races, and he flipped his car, and it flipped every possible way. 360 spun over, rolling around, and you could see his arms coming out of the side of the car, and he had his arm
Oh,
crushed and
oh,
broke several bones. I think 16 or 17 bones. First time I personally witnessed somebody being carried off the field or the track or whatever on a stretcher with the ambulance out there, and it was pretty horrifying. The upside is like 6.5 weeks later, he was out there racing again with a cast. And he was all bundled up and everything else, but he was out there driving again and continued to be a good racer. And I think 2006 or 2007 he got elected to the Sprint Car Hall of Fame. So anyway,
wow.
watching Johnny Anderson roll all around was pretty ghoulish for a young impressionable mind such as my own at that time.
And picture this.
Right,
Picture this. The lights are on at night, and all you can see is the dust.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a huge dust bowl.
Oh yeah, cloud of dust. It was so much. Those races were so fun though. But yeah, that was pretty scary. Yep. Jonesy, I guess that brings it to you.
Alrighty. So quickly to go back to Terry's story on Theismann, what scared me the most about that play was Lawrence Taylor jumping up and calling to the sideline so fast.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
knew exactly what happened the second it happened, and it was just oh. All right. So my number 5 is Lighthearted, and it's seen on many baseball blooper shows, but I can imagine how scary it was at the time. In Texas, the Twins are playing the Rangers. Pitch is about to come. Everybody's set, and lightning and thunder hit so loud that it rocked the stadium. And half the players fell to the ground, and half the players ran to the dugout. Like the thunder hadn't even ended yet, and the players were in the dugout. And the pitcher turns around and goes, okay, turns his back to the plate, turns around, and there's nobody there. They're all gone. And the camera pans up to a rooftop type look. And the first baseman and the runner at first and the second baseman are all on their bellies, lying on the ground, going, "What the just happened?" I can imagine how scary that must have been, how loud that was. I mean, it came through the TV loud.
Yeah.
So imagine what it was like in person on the field like that. So that's my number 5, lightning at the Twins game.
Yeah,
Twins
they
Rangers game.
dropped like they were all hit.
Yeah, they just straight down to the ground.
Watching that, you said, "What happened?"
Yes.
And they're all running or down.
Yeah, it was one or the other. Flee or curl up in a ball.
Yeah, Mother Nature not messing around there.
All right, that finishes our number 5 round, so that jumps us to number 4. Robbie, why don't you start?
Okay. Where to go? I've got several here, and I couldn't really rank them all, but I think I'm going to go with Tony Canigliaro. Did not see it live, didn't watch it on TV, but I've seen the replays, and it's just vicious. Jack Hamilton, fireballing pitcher for, I think it was the Angels, got a pitch up and in on Canigliaro and crushed his cheekbone, major retina damage in the eye socket area. What a nasty play. And what I remember most is seeing him after the game with the huge black eye and the swelling. And I mean,
Yeah.
The Sports Illustrated issue.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's the old style helmet with no ear flaps, which now, because of that pitch, that moment, they have the ear flaps now to prevent that whole kind of thing going on. So boy, that was gruesome. And it's bad when you see the film of the actual pitch hitting him, but it's really bad when you see the end result a couple of days later. So that was horrible. And that was a young superstar on the rise that pretty much had his career wiped out by that moment. And it was just bad luck, really. Nothing else. There's certainly no
Yeah.
intent on the pitch, but oof, brutal. Tough to watch.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Joe. Oh, Marty's got a finger up. That means one of two things, and it didn't look like that finger. So, Marty.
I have to go one. I'll be right back. Okay.
Oh, offload, reload.
Okay.
My number 4 was right along those lines, but let's take it a step further. Everybody heard of Ray Chapman?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Ray Chapman played for the Cleveland Indians. It was way back in 1920, August 16th. And he took a pitch. It was at the Polo Grounds, and they said it was twilight. And the people there said he must not have seen the ball. He didn't even move. He went down. They said blood was coming out of his left ear. He had to be carried off, and he passed away 12 hours later.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's the only person in Major League Baseball, hopefully the one and only, honestly, to pass away from being hit by a pitch.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, like I told you, this is a heavy subject. So, on that happy note, gee. this is a tough night. Okay, Terry, please help me.
Well, mine isn't any better. These are kind of depressing, aren't they?
It is. Like I said, this is a tough subject.
It is. All right,
Well,
my
that's the
number
point, right?
4.
It's Halloween. We're supposed to be scared.
This one's pretty scary. 1972 Olympics in Munich, Germany.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And this has never ended. 8 Palestinian terrorists killed 2 Israeli Olympians. Just when you think you're safe on the field, you're not. That I was alive and well back in the 1900s, and this was one horrible scene. And that was my number 4.
Yeah, and it was the first time they really kind of brought it home to you because it was on TV.
It was live, yeah.
They turned the sports broadcast into a news broadcast, and
what is the time difference between Munich, Germany, and California? Is it 9 hours? So it was in the middle of the night when
9 to 10 hours. Yeah, right.
It actually happened, and you didn't really see it because we were all asleep. But it was all over the news the next day, and just
remember it turned Jim McKay from a sportscaster into a journalist and a news reporter, and he handled it beautifully.
Yeah. And that was my number 4. Jonesy.
All right, doesn't get much happier. I have 2 instances of the same type of event, and one of them just happened.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
A hockey blade gets lost out of control and cuts somebody. First time I remember seeing it was the 1989 with I did write the name down. Clint Malarchuk.
Yes.
Clint Malarchuk.
Pronounce it.
He was a goalie for the Buffalo Sabres.
Yep. And the guy went flying, and his body went flying, and his skate came around and cut him, and he bled all over the ice, and it was gruesome. And then just this week, a minor league player. I have not seen the video. I don't want to see the video. I'm not going to go look for the video, but he didn't make it. Same thing. Same type of thing happened. Guy went flying. Skate went crazy, and but crazy that can happen, especially with how often games are played. How many plays that hasn't happened more often. There hasn't been more damage from that sharp of a skate.
Yeah.
So, and you know what's interesting about the Malarchuk versus the most recent guy is Malarchuk took or the trainer, I'm sorry, for the Sabres. It was like a combat medic for 20 years in the military and served in Vietnam and all of that, and got there and was able to know exactly what to do, how to contain the bleeding. And clearly this poor guy in the minor league didn't have the benefit of that. So brutal.
There's now an investigation into the guy that hit him. And you can see the video, and it's at a distance, so you don't see the blood and the gore. The guy that hit him was involved with a check right in front of this of him because the gentleman in question had the puck, and his leg comes flying up like a leg whip.
Mhm.
It was really strange that his leg is so high up in the air when this happened, to the point where he's now being investigated by UK authorities as to a possible criminal action.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, the
it-
guy is
They got to be really sure about the intent on that.
well, no, there's no intent, but it could be. Well, it's British law, so who knows what their laws are. But the guy that unfortunately cut the guy is supposed to be known as the enforcer of the league. So that's not helping his reputation when this.
Yeah.
yeah, it's weird. To
Yeah,
see.
but
I mean,
that's
a
horrible.
foot to be up by a guy's neck. There's
Yeah,
something is
because
going on.
you see that leg, it really just came up in the air.
Yeah.
The guy was upright when it happened. I'm
Yeah.
surprised when you mentioned it before that when they have all those scrums in front of a net or something that doesn't happen more often.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, that's horrible. Horrible.
So on that happy note,
Yeah.
so I guess it's time for what you drinking.
What you
Wow.
drinking
Wow.
Oh, really?
already?
My favorite time.
It feels like we just got here.
I like beer.
Like you haven't had 5.
It makes me a
Well, I haven't yet.
good fellow. I like beer.
And I do like beer, and I especially like Almanac beer. Our sponsor, Almanac, for highlights from Lowlifes. We're all drinking and enjoying Almanac tonight. I dug in the back of my refrigerator and found a can of the Rocktoberfest. I still see this out there a little bit out there. Get it while you can. This beer is delicious. What are you guys drinking?
Before you guys say, I got something I want to play.
These stories in this topic, I'm drinking whiskey straight up.
All right,
Wow.
Terry, what you drinking?
I'll be there. I'll be there in 4 hours.
Our viewers are down to earth, boy. I'm drinking an Almanac Kolsch.
Hey.
It's the truth.
Oh,
Cheers.
the True Kolsch.
That looks familiar.
Yes, it does.
Huh. And it's delicious. It is one of the simple pleasures in life. Hold on.
Get your reading glasses on,
Hold
Terry.
on. This modest brew doesn't need to brag about to make an impression. It's a crisp, flavorful, and unfussy beer that knows how to make friends. Cheers, friends.
Unfussy.
Unfussy. Yeah. Thanks, Almanac.
Marty's got to be drinking something different, I'm assuming.
Thanks.
Yeah,
and
I got
thank you, Bosch and Loam.
Like I said before, not a big IPA fan, but just like anything in Almanac, it's spectacular. It's great beer. I had a little something on the back here, and it starts out. It's a big hug in a little can. All right, okay, we don't need any more of that. All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Almanac. Go
Absolutely.
visit them in Alameda. Anything else to say about our sponsor, Robbie?
No, yeah, pop in and visit them. Tell them you listen to the highlights from Low Life Show. They might give you a pity beer.
And charge you twice as much.
Or they might give you a parking ticket.
Look at you go, what?
All right.
All right. I guess that brings us to round 3, which is let's start Marty.
Thank you. Number 3. It was bizarre when you first heard about it, and you wondered that can't happen. Then you saw on television how it happened, and it's still just bizarre because it wasn't football, it wasn't baseball, it wasn't in the United States. It was in Germany in a tennis match. Monica Seles is playing Steffi Graf, and I guess it was a good match. Tennis is not my things, but okay. And they're taking their break, and the guy comes out of nowhere and stabs Monica Seles in the back. Stabs Monica Seles in the. Are you kidding me? And thank goodness the guy had terrible aim, or there was enough security not to drag him down because she wasn't really seriously hurt, thank God. And only to find out now. Here's the scary and bizarre part. They find out why this guy did this. He was a Steffi Graf fan and didn't like Monica Seles because he was playing Steffi Graf.
Yeah.
I mean, there's fans, and then there's the fans like in the movies that were, ouch, scary.
Yeah.
Tell me what
Yeah,
tell me what
tennis
country
ball.
that was again.
That was in Germany.
Bad things
1990
are happening in Germany in sports.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, Jeff, help me out, please.
All right. This one hits close to all of our hearts, being Giants fans. And I think just being the Giants fan, you'll know what story I'm going to say.
Yep.
But Dave Dravecki's arm.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, this was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those that don't know, Dravecki had gone out with cancer and had beat it and was making his big comeback. And it was his second game appearance. And if I remember correctly, it was national TV.
Yeah, maybe right.
And day game, and all the eyes were out there. And right in the middle of the game, he threw a pitch, and you heard it snap, and you saw him crumble, and you could just feel the air just leave that stadium. It was just so scary, and he ended up losing his arm. The cancer had come back, and the injury from the break, and awful. I mean, he's made an incredible life for himself afterwards and found, his purpose, but still just absolutely scary to see that happen live. It was
Yeah,
unbelievable.
no question. You remember how fast Will Clark got there too?
I don't. I have a hard time remembering anything about that other than the crack.
It cracked, and then it just looked like his arm was like on a rag doll. It just, it was horribly misplaced.
A split second when Clark got there too. He heard it and was moving already on the sound.
Was he on the field or in the dugout?
No, he's on the field.
He was on the
threw a
field.
pitch.
Yeah.
I think it was against the Expos. He threw a pitch, and Clark was there, and as soon as he heard that sound, he was moving already.
Yeah.
Man,
all right, Terry,
terrible.
you're up.
Number 3. Here's another one that brings us all down as Giants fans. It was the Buster Posey gets bowled down at home plate.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Ankle injury took him out for the rest of the season. And they actually used the new replay rule by not showing it over and over and over again. Thank goodness. That was a bad scene. Poor Buster, but he came back strong, and we love Buster, so it'd be nice to see him in a coaching situation soon.
Well, we're going to see him in the Hall in a few years.
Yeah. On that note, Marty, why don't you go next? Number 3.
I think I started out with Monica Seles.
Sorry,
I think
Robbie.
So
Robbie, is anything in Germany? Because it seems to be there.
Not in Germany so much, but I'm going to throw one out here that's a little more lighthearted. We can get back to the death and mayhem in a moment. But mine is a two-parter. Same guy. Really, amongst the most horrific things I've ever seen and heard. In any genre, any category. Shaq putting out a rap album. Oh God, it was so bad. So was Shaq Diesel. Oh, it was awful. So very bad. And then he followed it up by putting out a video game, Shaq Fu, which is universally regarded as the single worst video game of all time. Just a horrible game.
Very
horrible.
Scary.
Little kids that love Shaq saving up their money to buy that game. They spend their $40 and take it home, and to be just most people couldn't get in 5 minutes into the game. And that's how I felt about the rap album. So combined, there's less than 10 minutes of any value from Shaq on those two things. Very scary indeed.
Nice.
I believe that does it for round 3, right? Everybody's
Yeah.
gone?
Yep.
You're the math guy.
Robbie, pick somebody to start round 2.
Why not you, since you're talking?
All right, sounds good. I didn't remember this happening live. I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention, but I remember it catching it later on. Hank Gathers collapsing on the basketball court.
Oh,
Just to see an athlete in the prime getting ready to break out big from college in his senior year just go down and never recover was just so unbelievable. It's like the guys you saw on TV as a kid, they were superheroes. And even as young adults, we kind of had that picture of them being superheroes and superhuman, and then all of a sudden one of them just collapses on the field of a health condition and dies right there. Just scary as all get out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was on a he could run. I mean that team was a running team, Loyola
Yeah.
Marymount. Oh my God! And that guy could just fly and jump. What an
Yeah.
entertaining athlete! And
yeah.
All right, Robbie.
back to me. All right, I'm going to go. One of the most. I like the guy. I've met him in person. One of the most lethal enforcers in the history of football, Jack Tatum.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Had a very unfortunate hit. I mean, the guy hit people hard. Generally played within the rules, but he was
at the time.
yes, he was going to punish guys, but he wasn't a cheater per se, and wasn't a guy that mixed it up after the plays were over. He was a hard hitting cornerback, and in a preseason game of all things, he hit really hard Daryl Stingley from the Patriots. And when he hit him, his helmet hit the shoulder pads. And I think they redesigned shoulder pads because of this. It's amazing how much we're bringing up change because of all of these things. But his shoulder pad jammed up into his spinal cord, and it cracked a couple of vertebrae. And Stingley was paralyzed. Brutal hit. I remember the contact. And when you watch the replay, and I think I saw it live, or in my mind I did anyway. Stingley's body just drops to the ground. I mean, it's a boom and hit. I found out when I looked this up, I was trying to get a little background and make sure my memory was correct on it. Two
What
things.
memory?
One, Stingley, yeah, well, the beer helps with the memory loss.
Cheers on that.
Stingley had just agreed in principle to a new contract that was going to make him one of the top 3 paid wide receivers in the National Football League. They just hadn't gotten around to doing the signing yet. So the contract was off the table, obviously, after he got hit. The second thing, and the more fascinating thing I found out, and it speaks to this gentleman, John Madden went straight from the game in his attire or whatever, didn't go to the locker room, but straight from the game to the hospital. When he got to the hospital, he was the only one there. There was no one from the Patriots, no one from the Patriots organization or anybody there at the hospital with Stingley. John Madden was there. John Madden got on the phone. Their plane was actually taxiing to head to the runway to take off, the whole team plane.
Jeez.
And John Madden got that plane turned around and said, "What the hell are you guys doing? You got a guy in the hospital. What are you doing? Get back here." So he got their plane turned around and brought him back. So I think that speaks a lot about John Madden in that situation. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, the Daryl Stingley hit, brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the people accused him of using his helmet as a weapon.
Yeah, and on this one, when you watch the replay, he hits him he hits the shoulder pad. The shoulder pad. He doesn't. It's not helmet to helmet,
right.
and it's not in the gut or the solar plexus.
If you watch modern football or current football, you notice that when a guy falls back and hits his head, that's where the absorption comes from, and
right.
Or a 300-pound lineman rolls over a 127-pound kicker. It protects his head that way.
Right.
Not to use it as a way of taking someone down. And they have the new rules, which is great.
Mhm.
You still see guys drop their heads though. The old "see what you hit" thing just it doesn't happen.
Right. What I don't
Yeah.
get is that the person with the ball can drop their head.
Right. Right.
Unlike like rugby, you need to try to avoid, but the defenseman cannot lower his head to make the first contact.
Right. Well, then you're on a roll, Terry. Why don't you go next?
Well, my number 2, since you guys cut into a couple of mine, I'm going to go with one of my honorable mentions and save number 1 for number 1. Not number 2.
I just said one.
I'm going to go with anything Evil Knievel did. I know it's not. Is motorcycle jumping a sport?
Sure.
It is now.
Okay. Evil Knievel claims, you watch those jumps in slow-mo on the landing and those replay after replay, you can't look away. He said he broke 400 plus bones in his career. And his son said he broke 50 plus bones. So I don't know who to believe. who was in the hospital? Evil Knievel. Man, what a I mean, he was so much part of our childhood, or at least mine.
Did you have the crank up? I had the Evil Knievel crank up toy. The motorcycle rider, and you set up little jumps.
The one that you pull the T handle, and then you let it go, and you make him jump over things.
Jump stuff. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I love those. All right, who has not gone? Is
Marty's
that
not gone number
1 or a 2 or a 5? Marty? Marty?
Oh yeah, right, yeah. It said a lot of things have been picked up, so fine. Thank you. This one affected me not because of the timing of it was not good, but it was so quick but so vicious, and you were just left gasps for breath wondering what just happened. It was in 1986. It was the NFC playoff game. And I must admit, the 49ers were in against the Giants in New York. And I was a 49er fan. And Jim Burt was the defensive lineman for the Giants, who hit Joe Montana and knocked him straight up in the air. And when Joe Montana landed on the now again, this is January in New York, Joe Montana was out. There was he didn't move. It took him about 20 seconds, and then he started moving it. But the suddenness and the viciousness of the hit, which was totally legal. And you were talking about that hit on Stingley. It's just an odd angle. Joe was throwing the ball, and he got hit right in the armpit, and literally lifted him off the ground. And the contact with that frozen AstroTurf back then just knocked him senseless. And you just look at it and say, "Oh my God, what just happened?" And thank goodness he gained consciousness, and it was just off the field. But I think he was done. He would still be in concussion protocols now if they had it back in 1986.
Right.
But like I said, it wasn't. There's much more gruesome things, but that one with the suddenness, well, forget it.
It was fast.
It was quick. All right. I think I was the last number 2, wasn't it?
All right. Before we move on,
Terry for the win with Evil Knievel.
Sounds like she's been drinking whiskey.
Cheers, Vonnie. Have another whiskey, babe.
Robbie, you want to tell us about other things going on the Mic'd Up app?
Yeah, well, if you're looking at us right now live, you are using the Mic'd Up app. It's a great app for shows like this. Rick Barry is on here using his extensive basketball knowledge to discuss different topics around, and basketball's just started again. So Rick Barry's show frequency is lighting up, and he's got some great insights. Very opinionated, stubborn and opinionated, but
he's a straight shooter.
yeah, absolutely. He's great. And so he's got a great podcast on here. Bip Roberts is got a show on here. He'll be back shortly. He's been covering the playoffs in the World Series with Comcast. So I'm sure we're going to get a great show wrapping up his insights on that coming up. There's a couple of other new shows. There's a lot of baseball right now. There's two coaches from St. Mary's that have a show called The Pitcher's Mind, where they talk about pitching and the theories of pitching and the mental approach to the game. There's also another a coach now from the Cape Cod League with the show on here who talks about developing young players, having the right mental attitude as you take the field. I haven't had a chance to listen to that one yet, but it does sound pretty interesting. And then a show I actually have really begun to enjoy is John Rieger, who's a former PGA pro, has a show about the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. And he's had some real fascinating people on there. There's well-known people like Wade Boggs and Fred Biletnikoff, Greg Coleman from the world of sports, but there's also been some like world champion kayakers, some volleyball players and things like that. And it's really fascinating. So he's got a great show out there that everybody loves. And then lastly, of course, Jim Darby, who was an executive for Easton and Mizuno for many years. And he was one of those guys that works with the different athletes in the different sports, getting them to promote the Easton and Mizuno lines. He worked with some real characters like Pete Rose and several others. So he's got a lot of great stories. He also played baseball at Cal and recently wrote a book called Bears and the Bigs about players from Cal that have made it to the major leagues. So he's got some great insights on that too, if you're into the Cal Bears baseball scene. So a bunch of good shows on here. And then there's the highlights from Lowlifes, like I always like to say, just a bunch of old guys sitting around drinking beer and talking crap. So that's what we're about. You can interact with us anytime. Hit that live button, the microphone button down at the bottom of your screen. Leave us a comment. Make fun of Marty's tie. Whatever you need to do.
Hey,
We're always here for you. We're here to serve. If you can't watch us live in the app, you can watch our previous shows here on the app or on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all the things out there with the social media stuff. We're building our presence as we go, as well over 7 or 8 people at any given time are probably listening to us. So anyway, that's what we're doing. We appreciate Mic'd Up. Thanks for letting us be on the show, and now we can get to round one.
Can I hold up the show a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I asked Jeff.
You guys watching the game? Is there true that one pitcher for the Arizona is doing something we're not supposed to talk about?
Oh,
I am not watching.
it's
No?
It's 0-0 top of 6. If you get what our drift is,
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to focus, on the program that we're doing.
Hey, it's a World Series. I'm just checking in. Okay.
You said there's a lot of baseball going on.
Just checking in. Okay.
All right, Marty, since you're checking in, lead off round.
All right,
one.
great.
I was going to mention for future merch, the clip-on tie will be on. It'll be on there.
Yes, the highlights from Lowlifes.
Highlights from
Marty Brown
Lowlife.
clip-on. Yeah, it goes all the way to the
Thanks,
back
guy.
with clips.
It
That's
means a
right.
lot. It really does. It all clicks on it.
Yeah, that way you can loosen it and make it look like a real tie, even though we still know.
That's a heck of an idea. That's great.
It's the new model clip-on tie. The modern.
Anything? Come on. Anything else? Come on. My number one was a dreadful event to watch because it started on the field. Excuse me, I misspoke. It started on the court and carried over into the stands.
Oh yeah.
And then we had people on the court, and then we had it was called the Malice at the Palace.
Mm-hmm.
November, it's right here. Hold on. November 19, 2004. Ron Artest is the main individual in this. He wasn't quite the instigator. But it started with a hard foul late in the game. And according to the research, the Artest and a center with the other team, the Detroit Pistons, they were squaring off with each other and everything was separated. And then Ron Artest goes and lays down on the scorer's table. I had to read that again. He's laying down on the scorer's table. Not sure what that was all about. But while he was trying to get up, he got pelted with a beverage from some guy in the stands. So what does Artest do? He goes into the stands after the guy. He punches the wrong guy. So other people go into the other players go into the stands to get him back and to minimize that. Here I go again.
You're a regular Bing
His,
Crosby.
His clip-on tie is a little tight.
Breaks out. So Ron Artest gets back onto the court, only to be confronted by two fans who want to pick a fight with him again. And so it turned into a disaster. The referees called the game. There was less than a minute left. So so it was the game that never ends. And it got to be horrific when they're trying to get the Atlanta Pacers off the court. They had to go through a tunnel through the stands, and they were getting pelted with food and beverage, and it was a really nasty incident. Some of the statistics afterwards, the suspensions that came out between 8 people, included 164 game suspension total between the three. Legal charges for a number of people, and it truly not showed what can happen when not just players but fans get out of control in an environment, and it was truly an ugly scene. It was called the Malice in the Palace. Terry, number one.
Number one. Did you say the Atlanta Pacers?
Did I? It should
Yeah,
have
he
been the
meant-
Indiana Pacers.
he
Yeah,
He meant the Indiana Hawks.
Yeah. Okay, my number one is a kind of a double whammy. Not only did we this is the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. Not only did we lose that World Series game, we almost lost Candlestick Park. 6.9 on the Richter scale for 15 seconds shook the game to a stop. Were you all watching it at the time?
Oh yeah.
I was in Los Angeles, and you heard him go, "It's a little earthquake," and then it went blank, and we got static. And I'm sitting there thinking, "Come on, it's just a little earthquake. Let's go get the game going." And it's not that little. So that ended that game. Unfortunately, Giants lost that series. That's my number one. Robbie?
All right. Well, my number one was Munich, but I think we went into that far enough, and that's just a topic that's hard to take. So I'm gonna have a little more fun again. Kenyon Martin, who was a pretty good NBA player for many years. I think he played with the Knicks and the Nuggets, maybe the Nets and Clippers and a few other teams. Pretty good shooter, decent defender, made the All-Star team a couple of times. Pretty good player. Made a really bad choice, and it is. I encourage you all to Google image search this just to see how awful a choice this was. As you know, the NBA players have a fascination and a love for tattoos. I think Kenyon made a horrible mistake. He got a tattoo of his wife's lips on the side of his neck, all in red. And it's just horrifying to see. She's a hip hop star, Trina. I'm not familiar with her. Not sure if they're even together anymore. But to see this guy with all these fierce tats, you know, the hawks and swords and all the things the NBA players wear as he's running down, and he's got a sleeve and the whole thing. But to see him running down with these red lips as he's running, and they're really bright red. I mean, bright candy apple red. They just stand out on him. It's hilarious. And he'll running down the court, and you could just see those red lips
It'll fade
mistake.
in about 20 years. What's his
So,
last name? Kenyon what?
Kenyon Martin.
Kenyon Martin.
And
Martin.
it's one of those things, like, he was a pretty decent player, but I swear if you ever saw that tattoo, you will never think of Kenyon Martin as an NBA player anymore. You'll just think of him as a guy that got a really bad tattoo.
I see it.
That's his legacy. It's bad, right?
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
So maybe we'll do a
Was
Kenyon
it-
Martin wife's lips tattoo clip-on tie as well for Marty.
Was that a ruby red or never mind?
It's just so red that you could see it on TV from a distance. When they showed the wide shot of the court, you could still see it. Horrible.
Yeah.
All right. Who's
He better
I
not
guess it's
divorce her.
I guess I get to bring us down on our last one, because this has no humor in it at all and is really depressing. So this might be something that you guys might not have seen, because it's a sport that not everybody watches. I happen to be watching at that time. But a wrestler named Owen Hart. Does that ring any bells with anybody?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He had a brother, was it? I had a brother too that
Yep.
wrestled.
So
Bret
he
the
was
Hitman
wrestling in pay-per-view in Kansas City, and they decided to do a stunt where they were going to bring him to the ring by putting him in a harness in the rooftop and propelling him down to the ring.
Heard about this. Ugh.
And at about 80 feet in the air, the harness snapped, and he
Oh.
fell out of the harness right on top of the ring, right on top of the ropes of the ring. And let's just say that was it. It was not and it was live on pay-per-view. It was caught on camera, and the stupidest thing they did was they continued the broadcast. They could have just turned everything off, but they didn't. Not only did they keep the cameras, they didn't keep them on him, thank God. They
Yeah.
panned the cameras out to the audience and just didn't say anything. But they continued with the rest of the show, even after they got him out of there and clean. And I don't know how they did it. And from what my understanding, from everything I've heard, he was the nicest person. He was a family man. He had young kids. He had just bought a house. All the things that line up to make this the worst freaking tragedy ever. And it happened. And to bring it down on a very sour note to end our list, Owen Hart falling in a
Did they
pay-per-view.
think it was a stunt, and were they expecting him to get up?
Oh no. There was with wrestling, they put the facade out there that everything is staged. So fans really didn't know what was going on, especially the ones at home watching. And they kept saying, this is not part of the show. This is not part of the show. And they've done that so many times, there's not part of the show when it's part of the show, that nobody believed them. But yeah, it was awful. So on that happy note, our list is over. Happy Halloween, everybody.
How about an honorable mention?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Do you want
out
to do
there.
You want to do comments first or honorable mentions first?
Oh,
Comments.
Yeah, let's do
do
the
some
comments.
comments.
Looks like we
Sure.
got quite a few tonight.
All right, let's start with our usual host, Webby.
Top 5 scary moments in sports. Number 5, Joe Theismann having his leg bent backwards. Number 4, Chuck Hughes dying on the field in the NFL. Number 3, Damar Hamlin's heart attack in the NFL last year.
Yep. That's
Number 2, Clint Malarchuk, the goalie, having his throat slit by a passing skate. And number 1, Tony Canigliaro being hit in the face with a fastball.
Who was the football player you mentioned? Hughes. I don't remember that.
Clint Hughes. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
No, no.
We'll have to have him elaborate on another show that people have 40 or 50 minutes for his story to go on.
This was the
All right, we'll move on to a frequent contributor, JC.
JC number 5, Joe Theismann being sacked by LT and Carson on 11/18/85. Number 4, Alex Smith's injury of 11/8/2020. Number 3, Buster Posey getting trucked by Scott Cousins in 2011. Number 4, Damar Hamlin's heart attack, January 2nd, 2023. And number 1, finding out that Joe Buck was going to call Game 7 of the 2014 World Series.
Oh, JC.
I'll drink to that. I'll drink to that.
Our good buddy, Big Juicy.
I'm remembering Al Davis late in his career doing press conferences looking like he's auditioning for the role of Freddy Krueger in Nightmare on Elm Street with skin cancer and ravaging his face, still doing press conferences. Next, I've got May 26, 2011, the Marlins visiting the Giants, collision at home plate, Buster Posey fractures his ankle, changing rules of the catching positions ever since.
Yep.
Yep. And a follow-up because he can't fit it all in the time he needs.
And I've got one more for you, Vinko Bogataj. You're thinking, who is Vinko Bogataj? You've probably seen him hundreds, if not thousands of times a number of years ago. He's the Slovenian ski jumper that personified the agony of defeat in ABC's Wide World of Sports. Burned into our memories watching that over and over and over.
Boy, I had to go deep in the almanac for that one.
Yep.
I actually did think of that, and I forgot to write it down at one point. And I never knew the guy's name, so thanks for the education. And our most frequent commenter.
Okay, here's my top 5 for the scariest moments in sports. Number 5, Mike Tyson biting off the ear of Holyfield. Number 4, Nancy Kerrigan. Why me? Why me? Pipe to the knees at the Olympics.
And the voice.
Number 3 is Randy Johnson hitting and killing a bird while throwing a pitch.
To be continued.
On to number 2, huh?
Continuing with my list, number 2, I have Joe Theismann, the very famous leg snap. And my number 1 is one that just happened a couple days ago to a very young player, Adam Johnson. He's an NHL player. He got slashed across the neck with a skate blade and was killed. That's my list, guys. It's going to be a fun one.
I can see why
Thanks,
the whiskey started.
See, and oddly enough, last week when we talked about sports moments in films that weren't about sports, mine was from Swingers. My number 1 was from Swingers, where he's talking about, I'm going to chase down Gretzky and make him bleed in the video game.
Yeah.
And so we hit that twice tonight. So
yeah,
I feel very clairvoyant.
A few more general comments from the crowd.
Hey, no World Series spoilers. I'm trying to watch you guys.
My priorities a little mixed up, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
sorry.
Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.
Thanks, E6.
Thank you, E6.
Where the heck were you, Terry? You're closer than all of us. That was one heck of an earthquake. All the way in Napa, our whole earth moved up and down, up and down, up and down forever. How did you not know it was bigger than you?
I don't think she heard that you were in LA.
No.
I was
Well, to be fair, he was on set filming Surf Nazis Must Die.
He just thought he was being attacked by a knife.
Yeah, I was living in Los Angeles at the time, watching it on TV.
You need to do a tiger oh boy. Is it a 1 oh boy or a 5 oh boys as a ranking?
Okay, moving
Huh?
on.
All right.
I think that's the bourbon
Yeah.
speaking. but
How
okay.
many oh boys was that? Oh boy. Oh boy.
All right. We got personal critique of the show.
I like the lighting in Marty's room. It looks like he's recording an episode of Creature Features.
Thank you. That's the nicest thing you ever said to me.
Yes, he's got that noir lighting.
I got the
One eye
5
darker.
o'clock shadow, right? Yeah.
That's right. It's a cross
Yeah.
light. Very nice.
And that's it for our comments. Any other honorable mentions anybody has?
I got a couple.
I have
Go
one.
All
Go
right,
ahead,
Robbie.
Terry. No,
All right,
let
Terry.
Terry's got one.
Well, going back to the Evel Knievel jump, the other scariest moment in sports, since we agree that motorcycle jumping is a scary sport, the scary sport I have is the shark jump by the Fonz. Hey.
Do we have to end on that? Please don't
It
tell me.
introduced
Is our next episode fictional scariest moments?
Robbie?
Boy, that introduced a new phrase into our lexicon too of Americana.
That's right.
When a show jumps the shark.
Yeah.
I can see by Marty's face he's baffled.
That's not the first time.
All right, I had two. In keeping with an earlier theme, Deion Sanders also released a rap album. Very scary. Very, very, very scary. And then Boom Boom Mancini dropping Dooku Kim, who never woke up and passed away.
Yeah, that's right.
Just
yeah.
in just normal boxing. It wasn't even it wasn't anything out of the ordinary, just in traditional boxing, and people cheering and nobody really knowing what had actually happened and what was happening at that moment. So tough.
Yeah. Scary.
Yeah.
The only one I had wasn't really that scary, but it was monumental. Was Pete Rose running over Ray Fosse, ending his career.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that it? Are we
That's it for me.
Humored out of this serious topic?
I need to go drink more.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
That's Halloween for you, right?
There you go.
On that note, I guess we'll wrap it up here. I'd like to thank our friends at Almanac once again. Thank you, Almanac. I'd like to thank the people here at Mic'd Up. Thank you very much. All of our listeners and fans that leave comments. Make sure you catch us on our next episode. Leave comments for us. Visit our social media pages. Interact with us. If you have any suggestions for topics, the social media pages, especially the Facebook page, be a good place to do it. So leave us some comments. Talk to us. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you soon next week, next Wednesday. Catch us again.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Cheers.
Good night. Thank you.